Hello and welcome to episode 2 of Looking into Cultures. We're going to focus on time today. And today we have a guest from the Mystic Art Museum. He's the facilities manager at the Mystic Art Museum, Rodolfo Reyes. Rodolfo, and then of course, Frank Ficini, our co-host.
Hi.
We're back. And so Rodolfo, can you tell us a little bit about your background?
I was born in New London. My parents are Evelyn and Jose. My father comes from Costa Rica and my mother is from Puerto Rico. And I am the first generation from them to be born here in the United States.
First generation American.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm. And what about your summers when you were a child?
I was very lucky in a way because my parents, they were always working. And so I was very fortunate as the oldest to be able to get sent to my uncles and aunts in Costa Rica every summer.
Wow. Okay, starting about what age?
I'd have to say at the age of 8. Before that, my summers were in Syracuse, New York with my uncle, who showed me how to scuba dive at an early age.
Oh, okay, so you got to use that skill down there in Costa Rica, right?
Yeah, actually I did.
And what about like any kind of culture shock? Did you feel a great difference between American culture and Costa Rican culture?
Yeah, I have to say that living here, I was Americanized and not realizing how hard it is to live in a third world country. Because we have everything that's fast here, and over there, if the opportunity is not available, you have to wait.
Yes, yeah. Well, that's a good introduction to what we're going to say about time. Could we please have the first slide? We're going to talk about clock time versus social time. So here we have the concept of time. And in the left-hand picture, Frank, what do you see there?
I see some people, they look like they're playing a board game of some kind.
Mm-hmm. And Rodolfo, does that kind of look like it could be in Costa Rica? Not the actual people, but the scene, that type of scene.
That was actually my scene when I moved there for the first 3 months because I was working for my cousin and I wouldn't take payment from him because he was doing me a favor allowing me to live at his place, and that was the pastime after work every day.
Okay, so lots of human interaction down in Costa Rica, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, lots of pura vida.
Yeah, a lot of
pura vida. And of course on the right we've got clock time here, which is schedules, plans, punctuality is more important than human interaction. And interruptions are very annoying. Okay, and so can we go to the next slide, slide number 2? This is a quiz, and I'm going to be like a little school marm. I'm going to ask each of you to do one of them. So you're going to say whether or not it's socialized time or clock time. Let's start with you, Frank. Interruptions are rude. They disturb the schedule.
And that would be clock time.
Okay, clock time. Rodolfo, plans are always changing. You never know what's going to happen.
For me, it's a little bit of both, I'd have to say.
Okay, can you explain that?
Well, when you change your plans, some things can always arise, and if you don't anticipate it, you could find yourself in a situation, so technically you never really know what's going to happen.
Well, that's true, but still, don't you think if you had to choose one or the other, you couldn't say it's a little bit of both? Which one would it be more of, do you think?
I'd have to say clock time.
You never know what's going to happen in clock time?
Yeah, because people always change plans. you know.
Okay, well, are you okay? We're going to do the gong on that one. Gong. Actually, that one is social time because, of course, at your job and everything, if you say, "Hey, I don't know what's going to happen next," they might not like it too much in the U.S. What do you think, Frank?
I think that's true. I mean, time is money, as number 3 says. So I think that people care a lot about time at work.
Okay, so you're saying number 3 is clock time.
Right, but getting back to number 2, I think that the reason people are in business oftentimes is in part to make money, and if time is being wasted, that looks like money's being lost.
Okay, and so you've got a plan which you should try to stick to, maybe. I mean, of course, plans are changing, but it's not that fluid. I mean, you do have to provide for plans changing, but you're hoping that things will go in order and get done.
At work.
Yeah. Okay.
I would have to still, in a way, disagree because again, coming from back from Costa Rica and seeing opportunity, if you have money, you have the opportunity to change things. So it's always different,
I think I see what you're saying. So it depends on what you're saying. It depends on really sort of your status.
Yeah,
your
of course.
status, your social status, whether or not you can blow something off or you got to toe the line.
Exactly.
That's very important and very interesting. And the last one, what do you think about that last one, Rodolfo? Waiting is normal.
That is it would, for me, it all depends on where you are culturally. Because if you're somebody important and you can't wait for people, you got to go.
Yeah.
But if you're not somebody that has that opportunity, you got to sit on your hands and wait for that.
Right. That's interesting. So a lot of it related to opportunity. Yeah. Okay. But if we were just going to be cut and dry about this, waiting is normal is more of a socialized time statement. Could we take the slide off, please? And I want to give an example. When I lived in Russia, a lot of times the planes weren't on time. It was still sort of, very inefficient, the Soviet system. And I remember waiting in an airport once where I was sitting there with Russians in a Siberian winter, and we waited for something like 8 hours, and nobody complained. Nobody complained. Waiting was normal for them. So we're going to go on to another dimension, which is slide number 3, please. Okay, another aspect of time is monochronic time. Okay, and you see there a line of objects. This is to demonstrate what linear or sequential time, doing things one at a time and controlling time. Okay, that's monochronic time. And then could we please have slide number 4, polychronic time. You see a lot of things all kind of jammed together. So it's not linear, and many things can happen at once. Human interaction is more important than controlling time. So we have these 2 kinds of time. Could you take the slide off, please? Okay, so let's talk a little bit about that. Tell me about Costa Rica in terms of anything about time that you might want to say. Social time, clock time, monochronic, polychronic?
It varies from different provinces. You have now American free zones where there's a lot of companies, American companies, telemarketing companies, and for somebody that needs to work, you have to be on time.
Right.
But if the bus is late, then you gotta wait,
Yeah.
So it varies everywhere in Costa Rica, and then between the traffic in the day, if you get stuck between 11 and 12 or 3 and 4, you're waiting through the whole city.
And so the American Free Zone, does it employ an awful lot of people?
Yeah, a lot of different cultures. Costa Rica finds itself in the middle of Central America, so you got a lot of different people, going there. I've probably want to say I've met almost person from every place of the world living in Costa Rica.
And why do you think they're so attracted to Costa Rica?
It's the way and the lifestyle,
The pura vida?
The pura vida.
Can you explain that to us? I like the way it sounds.
For me, it's about having peace and positive vibes. You know, it's a way to tell somebody relax is going to happen or have a good day or something like that. You know.
And Frank, what do you think? Do you think Pura Vida sounds like American culture?
No, I think we need more of it here, though, because everyone is so uptight, you know. And I got a phone call yesterday that the water was going to be shut off until noontime, like it was, you know, they had to inform us, the utility company. And it's really not that big of a deal, but they wanted us to know. So they called all the customers to tell them that there'd be no water there was a water main break, I guess. So that's, you know, they told us, but it didn't bother us really.
Okay, but how did that make you uptight, or were they uptight?
It didn't, but it's just the fact that they make such an effort to call, like you have to know what time the water's going to go back on, and you know.
Well, that's a very good point, because you're saying that they notify you. I want to tell you guys a story of my experience in Africa. Like, I was teaching over there, and I would go to my class and nobody's there. And then I'd say to a colleague, if I could find one, you know, well, where's the class? Oh, well, they changed the schedule. Or you know, they're not coming today, and I'm saying, I'm the teacher. You didn't notify me. No notification. There were no shows. I tried to arrange a conference. It was hell. I've never been. And the thing is, I don't consider myself really strictly, you know, American in terms of hardcore American values. I tend to kind of fluctuate, but that. Having their attitude towards time, African time, and sometimes in Latin America called mañana time, it drove me crazy. And I realized, well, at least in this one aspect, I am very clock time, even though I don't think I really am. But when my students don't show up for class and nobody seems to worry about it, the administration doesn't worry about it, it was like, this is horrible, you know. So. And what else about, for example, tell us about like the banks and the buses. You were telling me about the monochronic, polychronic sort of fluctuating.
Yeah, I mean, at the bank, it's really an entire day trip. It sometimes takes 2 to 3 hours, you know, and then getting on the bus, you know, everybody's in the traffic jams. Either you're on the bus with 100 people or you wait for the next one to come around. And a funny story about, you know, he was mentioning about the water. I remember times where there was a shortage of water and the whole province shuts the water and you don't have water for 3 days. So
and I bet you people don't complain that much.
There's nothing really much you can do.
Yeah, it's similar in Africa, you know. I mean, all these things shut down and people don't complain. Waiting is much more normal than here.
Gives you a chance to go to your family and say, I need some water.
There we go, human interaction. Yeah,
Exactly. Yeah.
Right, that's very interesting. So what else can we say about it? Do you have any anecdotes in your life?
I'm thinking the pandemic really kind of gave us the chance to take more time and not be so concerned about time, because a lot of people were at home and they didn't have to be into work at a certain time. So that was kind of a nice thing that happened over a year and a half.
It was like a new perspective on time, right? So we can sort of. This may sound like I'm being a wisecracker, but I could say that the pandemic sort of taught us some pura vida.
Yeah,
It did.
I was noticing how much more people were buying plants and in the gardens, and there's less stuff at the store to find, so you got to get there sooner.
Right, and especially plants. Well, let's talk a little bit about the fact that you're a gardener. He has lived in Costa Rica a lot, and he dealt with orchids.
Oh, wow.
Lived with orchids and parrots, and tell us a little bit about that, the pura vida.
It's kind of funny because I became infatuated with orchids, sort of helping this old man I saw get off the bus, and he was looking run down. He had a little boy with him, about 8 years old, with a ripped shirt, and they were going from house to house. It must have been 3 o'clock in the afternoon, and it was after my football training, and I was just hanging out in the yard, and they were trying to sell whatever was in the bag, and I told him to come over to see what was there, and he opened the bag, and it was nothing but orchids. And
They were selling them?
he was selling them, and he had come from the mountains, and there was was my first time purchasing an orchid. It was a Góngora orchid. It's a bulb like this big, and the leaf looks like a banana, and the flower has a stem about 3 feet, and it looks like a hummingbird coming off the sides.
Well, there's nothing that can reduce stress for me like plants.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then so being an artist, I studied the roots, because if you observe how they form, it's really interesting. They're pressed together. And the guy kept coming back, and I kept buying orchids from him. When I left Costa Rica, I had over 400 orchids in my yard. And it just became a thing where I would sit and drink coffee in the morning and watch my flowers.
And it was very peaceful.
To watch a hummingbird in front of you hovering, drinking from an orchid is priceless.
Oh, wow. That's like time standing still, isn't it? Almost, because, I mean, it's funny. It's like its wings are going so fast, but it's not moving. It's just maintaining in the air. Well, I want to put us to use these continuums to see where you fall on the continuum between social time and clock time. So each of you mark an X where you personally fall on the first line between social time and clock time.
Already.
Just you personally, not another culture, not American culture, not Costa Rican, just you as an individual. Where would you fall? Okay, and Frank, would you mark where you fall? No, the first line.
The first
between
line,
social
okay.
time and clock time. Oh, that's interesting.
Yeah.
I'm shocked. All right, let's show the TV audience where they fall. They fall very, very close to the end of the spectrum. So you're both very much social time? Wow.
I have the chance. Well, on the weekends especially, I think.
I wouldn't think that of you, Frank, because, and also of you, Rodolfo, because you're both, fully employed and have a lot of responsibility.
Sure.
I mean, and yet you both chose social time. So obviously, that means you value human interaction
Absolutely.
more than controlling time.
Actually, it's part of my clock time in a funny way, because I enjoy going out of my way for people to, even for kids, or when I'm at work, I pull a flower and give it to a kid, and they have that memory forever, and just going out of your way socially.
I can
on
see
clock
that
time.
those summers in Costa Rica really, really, really formed you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that relates to memory, and you want to leave that, an impression on people.
Yeah. And what about you in terms of social time?
Well, I'm thinking about what we do here at work. We're helping people tell stories, and if you rush someone, they're not going to be able to get the whole story out. So you kind of want to give them the chance to really tell you what they're trying to convey, and so it's very social. We have long conversations with people here.
I didn't expect either of you to put it so far to the left on the spectrum. So now we're going to talk about the monochronic time, doing things sequentially, one at a time, or polychronic. Where would you put Costa Rican culture? Not yourself, but Costa Rican culture. Make your mark.
I have to say this.
Oh my gosh, I'm really surprised. Okay, what about you?
You're talking about American culture? Or?
American culture,
Okay.
sorry.
Oh, I'd say it'd be much more closer to that.
Okay, let me show the television audience.
You got that?
Would you put that cap
Yes,
on?
ma'am.
And then we will talk about it. So this is what they put. So you can see their marks down here where they put it. And so you put it exactly the opposite of where I thought you would each put it. You guys are confounding me. Okay, so Rodolfo, you have put Costa Rican culture way over at the end with monochronic time, which means doing one thing at a time. What else did we say about that? It was that the control of time is more important than human interaction. Do you really think that about Costa Rica?
Only when you talk about soccer.
Okay.
If soccer is on the TV and it's somebody's team, nothing matters.
But that to me would be polychronic. That means you drop everything you're doing.
And you're watching that, and you're about the soccer game, and that's it.
Okay. Well, see, I think that's polychronic because to me, if you drop everything you're doing, it's like, okay, I'm not going to get this done, I'm not going to get that done because the soccer's on. I think that's polychronic because it's like you have interrupted everything else, your schedule, you blew somebody off, you blew off a plan. Yeah. Don't you think that's polychronic?
It could actually jump on the line because, for example, when I worked for a company that did retention, it was the World Cup, and it was on the TV, and while you're picking up the phone, you're watching the game. So,
what's retention?
Credit card retentions.
Okay, so you were working at that.
Yeah.
And your boss just let you look at the game?
They turned on the TV and they said, Costa Rica's playing.
And where was this? In Costa Rica?
In Costa Rica. We were playing Italy. We beat Italy, and everybody went home.
Okay. Okay. Well, I still think that's polychronic. So you, Frank, put yourself as put American culture as polychronic. Why?
I think that they try to do a lot of things at once. I see people driving and they're on their cell phone, and they're putting their makeup on maybe, or they're just trying to constantly doing as many things as they can at one time.
Okay. Well, that's interesting because now I'm going to say my spiel to both of you because this is, to me, American culture is so monochronic because of the assembly line. Henry Ford made the assembly line to create greater efficiency, to make cars, to improve productivity. And to me, that is the model. That is the quintessential and original model of monochronic time. Because think of the assembly line. It's rolling off one thing at a time. And the reason for it is efficiency. Time is money. Productivity. Time is money. So you have both shocked me and surprised me because you didn't put it where I expected you to. And but again, these are fluid. So there's no right and wrong. It's a matter of perception and it's a matter of circumstance.
But is it multitask? When you multitask, you're doing many things at once.
Yes,
so
I agree.
That's an effort to save time, I would think.
Although they say that when you multitask, you actually do nothing well.
Right.
So I don't know. This is, we could talk about this for a long time because that also got me confused. Like, how do you put multitasking? That sounds polychronic, and yet the culture in general seems to be based on this whole idea of efficiency and productivity, which is more like, kind of, to me, started with the assembly line. Okay, we have to move ahead because time is running out. But I do just want to talk for a second about the control of time. So the control of time in English language, time has a lot of expressions that are about control. So for example, you say save time. Tell me another one.
Time is money, of course.
No, the word time with a verb before it. Save time. Time, make time.
Splurge time.
Splurge time.
Waste time.
Waste time. Frank, could you please give us slide number 6? Okay, so here's a lot of expressions of time control in American culture. And the one that's really interesting is kill time. Frank, do you think time can be killed?
I think sometimes you have time to kill, and it's kind of a luxury when you do. So people will, they'll look at their phone, or they might be doing something that they don't normally do to kill time. So it's a sort of a way of getting the time to pass, and you don't have to worry about it.
Right, but you're getting time in the past because you're waiting for something to happen, right? Okay, and you're impatient for that to happen. What do you think kill time must mean?
Well, it's interesting because my perception of that killing time, I've attempted that when I'm drawing and when I'm painting. My interpretation is to shut everything off that's running. The light, my phone, the TV, and just silence.
That's a really very different way of looking at it, and I like that. It's sort of like if you stop doing everything, time no longer exists. Which is kind of interesting. But you're still doing something. You were painting, but you turned everything off. So all of the electricity,
And silence.
your phone, the computer, and then the silence. Yeah. Well, unfortunately, we have to hurry along here. So could we please have slide number 7? I want you to choose the one quote that you most identify with. Let's start with you, Rodolfo. Which one do you most identify with?
I would have to say number 4 by Horace.
Seize the day. Can you tell us why?
Just waking up in the morning, feeling the sun makes me want to go, and do it as best as possible, as quick as possible, and make it so that everybody can, enjoy the time.
Okay, and Frank, which one do you?
Well, I'm thinking the same thing. I get up pretty early in the morning.
You choose the same one?
I'm going to say the same one because I looked at the others and I don't really feel like any of them I relate to as much as Seize the Day. I get up pretty early and I love the morning light and to get the day started because this time of year you have a little more time because we have sunset at like 8:30. But, I value the light, so I would say seize the day. And you can get more done, too, if you get things started before other people are moving around. And even going to the beach early in the morning, the sand is so much nicer, and the water is just calm. I seize the day. Get up early.
So you guys are both men of action, obviously. Well, I asked Rodolfo which one he thinks I would pick, and he was right. So I'm going to ask you, which one do you think I would pick? Don't take.
I would say number 2.
Oh my gosh! Time is a storm in which we are all lost, by the poet William Carlos Williams. Frank, would you take the slide off, please? Yes. It's like I'm not at all like you guys. To me, everything is just a big storm. Time is a storm, and I feel whirled around and just sort of, lost in it. Okay, well. Could we have, yes. So what we're going to do, you didn't see this, Rodolfo, but we're going to go to one final slide, which is the iceberg. And the iceberg is supposed to show, it's supposed to be symbolize the difference between what we can see, which is, this is an iceberg, and the line across is the water line. What we can see above and what we cannot see below the water line. So the values of time, if we have socialized time value, then the behavior would be sit around, drink coffee, play chess, don't worry about the clock, don't worry about going to work. And if the value was time is money, then what would be the behavior, Rodolfo?
Go, go, go.
Go, 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 right. Okay, so we have revisited the iceberg. Could you please take the slide off? Okay, and so I want to say that the next show is going to be something very special if we can get it. We possibly will be having a Tibetan guest on the Dalai Lama's birthday, which is July 6th. And so hopefully we will be able to do that. And if you would like to be on the show, please contact me at the email at the bottom of the screen, lookingintocultures@gmail.com. Okay, so really, thank you, Rodolfo.
Thank you for having me, Cynthia.
It was so wonderful.
It was very interesting, yeah.
It was so wonderful, in fact, that I'm mad that it's only a half hour. This is terrible. Let's have another, come on, let's have another half hour.
Yeah, sounds good.
No, it was good, yes. So anyway, thank you for watching, and we hope to see you again for the next episode of Looking into Cultures.
Ciao.